self-reflexivity, and humor in adventure games. Before we begin, let's take a glimpse about the proponent. Bonello recently completed an AHRC-funded PhD at the University of Kent, Canterbury, and is currently an assistant lecturer in the School of Arts UKC. Her PhD research comprised a theoretical analysis of the interrelationship between alternative comedy and punk. What is self-referential humor? Self-referential humor is a type of comedic expression that either directed toward some other subject or openly directed toward itself. The proponent noted that the article where our topic is based on highlights a tendency towards level of intertextual allusion, metafictional reflexivity, and metamediality, which will be discussed later when we deconstruct games. Intertextual is the shaping of a text's meaning by another text. Intertextual figure includes allusion, quotation, cult, plagiarism, translation, pastiche, and parody. Basically, it's imitating a text and forming it into another. Intertextual allusion is another way to showcase self-reflexivity humor in adventure games, which will also be discussed later. Metafictional reflexivity. Metafictional is when a work of fiction is aware that it is a form of fiction. The work goes on to examine numerous elements of fiction, normally presenting questions regarding the relationship between reality and fantasy. Before we discuss our main topic, which is self-reflexivity and humor in adventure games, let's discuss other medium that is based on the theory itself. One notable medium that we can set as an example that practices self-reflexivity is the film entitled Deadpool. Deadpool is originally a comic book developed by Marvel that is recently adapted into film. As we all know, well, if not some of us might know, that Deadpool's notable humorous element is its self-reference jokes and also its famous fourth wall breaking lines that is an example of metafictional reflexivity. Deadpool has self-referential humors that some of us might not notice because first, you aren't hardcore fan enough or it was shown in a short span of time. Example of it was in the starting scene when there was a cup shown that has a name written on it. You might think that it's irrelevant to the film, but actually it is the creator of Deadpool. It might not be directed toward the movie itself, but it's surely directed to a subject which is relative to the film. Also, there's a scene when Wade Wilson visits the sisters Margaret for the first time. He walks past two fellow mercs and greets them by name saying, Buck, Liefeld, another referential to the creator of Deadpool, which is humorous for fans of the film because they can get it. It is an example of intertextual allusion. Another self-reference humor is directed to Ryan Reynolds in famous superhero outing as Green Lantern. It was when Deadpool asked the man giving him powers not to make his costume green or animated. Lastly, is its famous fourth breaking lines, which is a form of metafictional reflexivity because Deadpool is aware that he is a form of fiction. Chaos on Deponia. In Chaos on Deponia, there is an Easter egg in a scene where the Lotto numbers are exactly the same as the numbers printed on the swan's hatch from the TV series Lost. Another self-reference from Chaos on Deponia is that there is an Easter egg that shows a rabbit, which is the rabbit from the game The Night of the Rabbit. Another game that practices self-reflexivity is the game called Monkey Island 2, where there's a coffee shop named Star Buccaneers Coffee, combining parodic self-reflexivity towards medium and merchandise. The last example that I'm going to mention is the game Saints Row. Saints Row has a lot of self-reflexivity towards different subjects such as games, movies, and notable personalities. One example is the shooting range where you can find all the developers' face that you can shoot, which is humor inducing because of its self-reflexivity towards the game developers. Another one is the self-reflexivity towards Salem, Massachusetts, which is famous for its witch history. As you can see in the picture, Saints Row made broom vehicle named Salem. Another one is directed toward the movie Men in Black 2, where there is a weapon named Loud Locust, which is based on the noisy cricket, and the name Loud Locust is an allusion to that fact. This self-reflexivity is an example of intertextual allusion. To conclude, self-reflexivity and humor is something that can add fun to the game and also the impact of it into player because of its humor and self-reference. Self-reflexivity for me is an element that can improve the game's level of fun. It is something that cannot be ignored when developing video games, and also, in my opinion, it is something that can be remembered by players that plays the game.